Okay.
You name and career job.
So I'm Luke Howe. I'm a thatcher. Been thatching 32 years, and wouldn't change it for anything.
So Luke, you very kindly said you'll speak to me because I've got an episode on. Well, there's lots of thatch houses around here, and I think for people like me who see you doing your job, it's just quite interesting to see the transformation. So this house in particular, corner house, needed a new roof, didn't it? I don't know the last time it was done. Do you know?
No, I think it was probably had a ridge was probably around 12, 15 years ago. Main roof was probably getting on 30 years, getting on that way.
Yeah.
Around that sort of time. So.
Yeah. So this is a full roof you're doing?
Yeah, this is a full what we call an overcoat of straw or comb wheat reed. So yeah, that's how different materials are. Reed's a little bit different. Reed, you take the whole roof would come off, the whole old material will come off right down to your rafters, and you start afresh with reed. Comb wheat reed and straw, slightly different materials. They fixed on the top to the existing material. Some of it can be on there for hundreds of years, the main coat right on the bottom. If it's solid, we try and keep it all on. And yeah, because it's keeping the history on the house still on there for many years.
Yeah, no, it is something. Obviously, people say it's a dying art. Do you think that's true? I mean, I've seen a lot of youngsters on the roof here.
Yeah, it's. We had a sort of spate probably 15, 20 years ago. Easily that. No one wanted to do it. No one wanted to come into it. Kids didn't want to do it when they left school. They wanted to get on computers and things like that. This is the first year I've known it. It's been really struggle to get kids from, obviously because they have to stay on at school till they're 18. When we get them at 18, I'm going to be honest, they're not quite where we want them to be at 18. They're almost, I feel they're almost been left behind a little bit, because some don't want to go to college, some don't want to go to uni, some just want to work, and I think at 16 when they come out of school is probably the best time to get them. But this year particularly, or I should say last year, my son left school all ready to go to college in Cambridge, and went there for 2 days and decided it wasn't what he wanted to do. He'd been with us over the summer thatching and said, I want to come thatching with you. After years of never saying he wanted to thatch, he came with us for 6 weeks over the holiday and loved it ever since. And just loves the whole working, works most weekends, works as much as he can, and his same year of his school, actually 4 other lads have gone into thatching.
Now it is obviously, I mean, it looks idyllic, so tell me the good things about the job. So you're working outside.
Yep, when the weather's good, it's brilliant. It's lovely to get to a job, and obviously the roof looks tired, worn out, and when you sort of walk away from it, every job, it's
Really
great feeling.
Yeah,
very
really
satisfying. Very satisfying. Never too long on the same job, so that's a nice thing. And yeah, it's just satisfying.
So roughly, how long does it take you to do a roof like this? How long will you be here?
We're usually around 3 weeks. So obviously depending on what it is and how much is to come off before, but it's usually around 2-3 weeks. Usually about 3 weeks.
And I guess because there's not many thatchers about, you're always busy. You've always got work. You're always in demand.
Yep. Yeah, we're usually around sort of two years in advance, usually around that. Yeah. So yeah, quite a good way to be.
So is it something you always wanted to do? Was it something that did it run in the family?
No, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go to college when I left school, and I was actually wanting to be a bricklayer, and that didn't quite work out. And I just saw an advert to be a trainee thatcher, went for that, and been here since.
So how long does it take to train? Like, how long do you think it takes to
Well, I think you've got to be at least 10 years before you can be. I think there's sort of apprenticeship schemes. There's a couple. There's actually one just started again with the National Society that I think they say around sort of 5-6 years. I personally don't feel that's quite enough time, but because every roof's different. But yeah, sort of. I think the longer everyone does everything different. Every thatcher does slightly, and different companies do things differently. So there's always other ways, and there's a lot of learning. And yeah, I think on site you've got to be learning as much as you can whilst you're
So
there.
it's obviously a tradition that's been passed down for hundreds of years, and it is quite a secret. It's quite a secret society, I suppose. It's something that like you said, Clive, he was not keen on giving. You don't want to give away too many of your secrets.
No.
Why is it? Why is it sort of protected in that way? What
think-
gives it that status?
I think a lot of it was the family thing, and I think it's just how it's always been. It's just a sort of an art, a craft, and just over the years it's always just been never tell anyone anything, don't let them see anything. It's always been that. Ever since I started, it's always been like that, and that happens to that's a lot of the older thatchers have always said that, and it's not just.
I think it's nice to keep things,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as we said, social media's gone a bit mad, so it's
but
out there now.
we're not going to give any secrets away, and don't show us too much. But I mean, so what can you tell us? So from the start, obviously the straw, is it special straw?
So it's long straw.
Right.
Yeah, we grow our own long straw in our yard or in the farm. So yeah, it has to be a certain length, which obviously no one else. That's why it's sort of specialised for thatching, because no one else wants long straw no more. Farmers don't have any use for it. They want it either as short as they can, or they just chop it off straight off the fields just for the corn. So yeah, for straw it's long. Reeds obviously a little bit different. We get as much as we can from Norfolk, but that's become very hard to get because not so many people are cutting it. The older chaps are getting older and older, and there's no youngsters taking over. So that's that's why a lot of it comes from abroad now, which is quite sad, really.
Yeah, that is sad. You think we can grow it? That's something
we can, but
do.
it just hasn't been managed, and it's slowly just wilted away.
Really?
Yeah, so quite hard to get. Not many people cutting it.
So what countries would you get it from?
All over.
Really?
Turkey, Poland. It's coming from pretty much everywhere now. Yeah,
And
and to be fair, the quality is very good.
Okay.
Um,
And are there thatch houses in other countries as well?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
is it
yeah,
something
yeah,
that is-
yeah. They're all over the place. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Again, different styles.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is quite a lot.
And the reed you said you use, where is that, like water reed? Is
Yep,
that
that's
what
water reed. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So that's water reed. Again, it's got to be managed to get it right. It can't just people
any
see.
old weed,
People
yeah.
see it growing in ditches, and people see it all over the place. But there's a lot. It has to be managed different levels of the water, and so it does take. Which is probably why there's not so many people doing it.
Yeah, it takes
It's a lot of time.
Labour intensive,
Very labour intensive.
Yeah.
Very.
very specialised.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work
Yeah.
for not great money. That is top and bottom of it.
Yeah.
People don't want to do things, and it's really hard work for
Yeah.
nothing.
Nothing in return.
No.
So talk me through what kind of different thatches you do. So obviously sometimes it's just the top, isn't it? Or so, what are they called? The
Yeah.
different types of roofs
So
that you do?
really, if you started from a fresh, that would you could sort of co-work where we are at this sort of stage now, and then it'll have a ridge on the top. The ridge lasts around 12-15 years, sometimes a bit longer, and then in sort of 12-15 years time or 10 years time we'll come and have another little look and guide the way what to do next. And some people leave the ridges really long and keep them going and try and get as much out of it. Some people like them to look nice and tidy again, and they'll have them done sort of 12-15 years. So they'll have a new ridge, they'll have a repair, new wire back on the roof, and it brings it back to life again, makes it look nice again. And that would be the ridge and repair, and then if it was to be done all over, it would be stripped right back again in straws, sort of 25-30 years, around that sort of, approximately that. Reeds quite a bit longer, 40 plus, depending on the style of house really. And yeah, so that's where that would be.
So you must have a head for heights. There's a lot of ladders involved, and you obviously get a great view wherever you are.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Yep.
you must see some beautiful places, visit some lovely
Yeah.
villages, and
Yep,
see
lovely,
some gorgeous
yep.
houses.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. Do you live in a thatch yourself?
Well, in about 4 weeks' time I will be, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just bought one, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, so, yeah,
congratulations.
yeah, looking forward to that.
That's nice.
Um,
Yeah. And so what I love the things on top. I always try and spot the things on top of thatches. So those little quirky kind of, what do you call them? There must be a name for them.
what, the finials.
Finials.
Yeah, they're sort of, they've gone crazy a bit the last...
Do people ask for
10
wacky stuff?
Yeah, some people do.
Like what? What's the
Craziest things? Well, we did we had a dog done on a couple of jobs ago. We have dogs. We have vultures. We've had elephant. There's an elephant up the road.
I've seen a teacup on somewhere.
Yeah, cup and saucer. Yeah, pretty much whatever.
Does one person make those? Is that quite a specialist thing to do?
So years ago, it would be the thatchers. The people who was doing the thatch, really, they would do a pheasant, things like that. But there's lots of different stories about that. There's different stories of pheasants being, you got a pheasant if you paid, you didn't get a pheasant if you got a pheasant if you didn't pay. So other thatchers knew that.
That was their sign.
So that was a sign. It's been changed quite a bit over the years. I've heard lots of different stories of which is which. Some people would say you'd have two, and then that's whether it's true. I'm not sure. But
I love that.
Yeah. But there is some crazy ones around.
But how long does that take to make? Is one person making that, or is that
there's
quite a few of you?
Yeah. So there'll be sort of one person making it. They're sort of. Depending on what it is, quite a few hours. They're quite a fiddly job. Clive doesn't like them, never has done. He says it takes your eye off the real work, which, you've been on a job 3-4 weeks and then everyone just looks at the pheasant on the top and says how nice the pheasant is. So, it's.
Have you got one on your thatch that you're moving into?
There isn't one on it at the moment, no.
What would you have if you chose one?
Well, I don't know. If I had to, it'd probably be a traditional one. It'd probably be a pheasant. It'd probably be a pheasant. But I probably won't have one.
Do different places have different ones? I mean, that's another thing. Maybe it's more traditional. Show the area you live, or maybe what you did for a living, or not.
Yeah, I think people have different ideas of what they want on there, and they can have, a lot of the time conservation people don't like it. That's another thing, because it shouldn't. The little listed buildings, it shouldn't be on there. It was never, some weren't. They wouldn't have been like that. And the listed buildings is obviously how it should be back in the day.
So it's quite a new.
It's fairly new. Yeah, fairly. Especially the pheasant and things like that. They're not so bad, but it's the other things. Yeah, there have been people they've been told to take them down. We have taken them down before, where they've put them up and they've had complaints, and they shouldn't be up on the roof. So
a little bit controversial.
Yeah. But there's different styles of ridges, obviously, for different thatchers.
Yeah. Is there? So can you tell a style? Can you tell who's done that?
Yeah, usually around this area. So we can pretty much see, not so much in the coat in the cut, what we would call, but in the woodwork we can usually tell who's done what. Yeah.
And if you go to visit other places in the country, obviously the styles are slightly different.
Yep.
Is that
there's quite a lot of different styles. Different, like I said before, they put the different ways they put just the way they set it up, the way they put it on. That's just the way they've been.
So I've seen quite a few people working on this. How many people roughly would work on a roof at the same time?
Well, usually sort of 4 or 5, depending on. Yeah, it depends how big it is, really. If it's a slightly smaller job, you've only have 2 or 3 of you.
Yeah. And what are the tools? Are you allowed to tell me what the tools are called that you use?
Yeah, well, again, there's different words over the years. So what we sort of use to dress the work up, if you like, we call them dressers. Leggets. People call them leggets. There's lots of different areas call them different things. But yeah,
But they
yeah,
haven't
so-
changed over the years.
no, they're pretty much the only things they have done is where they would sort of be made out of a piece of sort of cut out of a piece of wood. They're now sort of made out of an aluminium and all preset, sort of cast.
So do you have your own set of tools as a thatcher, and you use
Yes.
the same tools, so they're very personal
Yeah.
to you, and-
Some you've had for since I started. Not many, usually lose them, but yeah, I have got. So I've managed to keep hold of some of them. But obviously with so much sort of rubbish around and things, you do tend to lose some tools. But yeah.
And do you find a lot of birds' nests in there, or birds?
Yeah.
Have you ever discovered stuff in a?
Not of anything to talk about. No, it'd be lovely to find sort of a bag of gold sovereigns, but no, nothing. Just dust. Just dust. Nothing.
Do you find that? Do you find that? It gets...
Yeah, it's quite dusty. Yeah. Saying that, we do find the odd bits of sort of newspaper folded up with the date of when it was done last. We do find tools in there, which people have obviously the thatchers previous have lost. But other than that, there's not. Cigarette packets. Years ago, they'd smoke on the ladders because obviously it was all done with ladders before.
Yeah.
Now we're all on scaffolding, so that's changed over the years. Everything was done off just a really tall, long ladder,
Gosh. Yeah.
and you'd have to carry it all the way up, or someone to carry it up to if you were lucky.
Yeah, you have to be fit and strong, I would imagine, actually.
Yeah, it's quite a physical job, very physical job.
How much straw would there be used on one roof, roughly? Like, how much straw do you know? Have you got any idea of how much you've used? Or
There's a lot of ton.
yeah.
Surprising. We take a lot off, but there is a lot.
It's very eco, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very. Yeah.
Yeah.
We try and recycle any whatever we remove off. We luckily got a friend who's got a recycling plant, so we try and recycle as much as we can have, as much as they can have, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Very natural.
Yeah. But yeah, very eco, very warm in the winter and cool in the summer. So
But do you work through the winter even when the
Yeah.
weather isn't good?
yeah, work all year round.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, last year was a strange one. I think the winter was minus in this village actually -10. We worked then, and then I think the same year was -40. It showed 40 degrees on the van. Whether that was quite right, but
Really?
yeah, it was a strange year that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You must notice the weather. You must notice
Yeah.
the seasons and the weather. not being
Yeah. This month
outside.
has been very weird
Yeah.
already, sort of for this year.
Yeah. So wet.
Yeah.
But does that matter with the roof? I mean.
It's not ideal. Well, it depends. If it's a straw job, we tend to sort of soak the straw a little bit anyway. It makes it a little bit easier to put on. But it's not nice getting wet.
No.
No.
So tell me, what's that? What's going on over there? What's that?
Well, we're just getting some material ready for the ridge, and we just soak it up to make it a little bit more pliable, so it moves around a bit more, bit softer. Yeah.
So what's your favourite part of the job? So like, what's the favourite bit to do on the roof? What do you enjoy most?
Do you know what? I like all of it, but I do like the wiring part. Not because it's the end of the job. I just find it quite therapeutic, in a weird way.
So it's covered with chicken wire, is
Yeah.
it? At the end?
Yeah, at the end, just to try and keep the birds away and any vermin really. So yeah, it's.
So has much changed in the 30 years that you've been doing it as far as technique, or are you still learning different techniques, or do you?
Well, there's obviously new modern ways of doing things. Yeah, the difference with cutting wise and different sort of hand cutter wise. Obviously, all improving. Years ago, they were just sort of quite basic, and they've sort of now you've got sort of springs on things, which has made the job a lot easier. Even the mallets and things, we always used to use a sort of fairly big, sort of heavy wooden mallet. Only the last few years I've started using other sort of fiberglassy ones, and just a bit more easier on you. Try to make it easier. It's funny, I try to tell these, you very quickly sort of been doing it a long time, and then you wish you'd have made it easier for yourself years ago. Especially sort of bending down, because it's not great on your back.
No.
So yeah.
And have you ever, I don't know, have you ever slid down a roof? Have you ever?
Slid down, but touch wood, never sort of done anything really bad. So no.
And are most roofs the same sort of design, so they all come down like this?
Pretty much. They're the same sort of pitch-wise, which is sort of important. Obviously, it can't be too flat because the water, that's the biggest part of the thatched house. It needs to be fairly stunt. But yeah, other than, there's obviously this one hasn't got any windows in it. So
some got windows in.
Yeah, some have windows in them. Sort of, there's quite a lot down in the village there. Yes, a lot of them have windows. This hasn't got any in it at all. So everything is. So this has have quite a big sort of loft space, whereas others have used the sort of loft space for bedrooms over the years. And yeah.
Do you ever have to go in the house, or is it always from the outside?
Sometimes we go in if things are a little bit awkward to find, or yeah, sometimes we go in. Years ago, they would have gone in the house or gone in the loft space. That's how it was fixed on years ago.
Oh, was it?
They would have fixed it with sort of with string. There, someone would have poked the string from the outside with a needle. Someone would be on the inside fixing it through. And
really, like sewing it together.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that's changed over the years. Don't do much of that now.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So but little things have changed.
Yeah. So I think it's impressive to call yourself a master thatcher. You're a master at something.
Mm.
It's cool, isn't it? I think that's cool.